interrupt your program to bring you this important podcast. How to 911.
Can you put me out of service on a podcast, please?
Can't take one. Hey guys, the usual opening here. Welcome back to How to 911. This is a very special, every episode's special, I feel like. I say that every single time. This is how we're beginning. We're just laughing at each other already. I'm Sammy.
I'm Erica.
And we have a very special guest today.
What?
Our very first guest. So
Very first.
exciting.
So cool.
But long-time listener.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you.
Years, right? You've been listening for the last 6 years. It's great. Yeah, so our guest works not at our agency or within the agencies that we dispatch for. He is one of the agencies that we reach out to a lot, we work with a lot, we talk to him a lot, and I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Sweet. Yeah, my name's Matthew, and I work with Larimer County Sheriff's Office Dispatch, or Larimer County Communication Center, or the county.
Yes, or just county.
County.
I got county.
Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah. Or the responders say it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, from like other agencies. Can you have the county do this? Or yeah, it's what it is. Or 900, but no one gets that. But I like 900.
I always
like that
forget
number.
900. I confuse 900 and 800 all the time.
Oh, one is people not in custody. One is people in custody.
I just don't know why. I just cannot remember. I was like, wait, is county 900 or 800? Matthew, how long have you been doing your job for?
I started in 2016 as training and stuff, and then I don't remember what year, 2018, got promoted to supervisor. So a few years, and for us, supervisors still work on the console for a minimum of 30 hours a week. So, I know.
That's great.
Minimum of 3.
Yeah, if you have a trainee or because of staffing, then 40 plus.
So, do you guys have other training dispatchers that aren't supervisors?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have our CTOs, communication training officers.
I was going to say CTO, but I use abbreviations a lot and don't explain them. And Erica has to back me up. So, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Minimum of 30 hours.
on the console.
That's a requirement.
Yeah, mostly because of staffing.
Okay, so if you guys had
If we get to our full staffing load that we can have, I don't think we'll have to work that much. But I'm not sure. We'll see.
Are you guys hiring?
We just hired 3, so we'll have a total of 4 in
Oh.
training at one time.
Oh man,
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
good for you. What's your staffing levels? What are they supposed to be?
Like total people,
Yeah.
19 is what we're budgeted for.
How many people do you have?
I just told Erica she was too quiet and she decided to be obnoxious. Anyway, sorry Matthew.
It's the
keep going.
usual. Yeah, so we're budgeted for 19. I think right now we technically with the trainees will have 18. So
What is your ideal max staffing level then?
19.
What? Only 19?
Yeah.
How many do we have working?
19, but I think we're budgeted for 21.
This is my favorite. I don't know how this sounds to the listeners right now, but I imagine that's what happens at drive-thrus. Like when, like at, I don't know, Taco Bell or something, when they're real loud.
Yeah, totally. So I think that's interesting that we have the same staffing level.
It's true. Because you guys take way more medical calls
Yes.
than we do.
Yeah. Speaking of medical calls, so you guys are certified to
We're
take those
EMTs.
medical calls like we are,
Yeah.
like all of Larimer County.
Mm-hmm.
So you do take medical calls. You guys have called us very few times giving us the EMD code and all that, which we'll get into another episode. But what determines if you guys take that call or not, or transfer
Yeah.
it?
So in Larimer County, all 911s are routed by fire medical jurisdiction, right?
Mhm.
So we have primary responsibility for fire medical for the whole northwest part of the county. So that would include Crystal Lakes, Red Feather, Glacier View, Livermore, Risk Canyon, and Pooter Canyon.
Okay.
And then any 911s that might get routed to us incorrectly when it's medical, then we take it. Like it should go to you guys or Fort Collins 911, but then we take it. So
And that's based off of cell phone?
usually,
Yeah.
yeah. So cell phone will ring into a tower that goes to a different communication center in the state, and then we get it.
That's your job when you play with
But
kids.
yeah, so and for us, all of our staffing, the highest we get to during the day is 4 people at a time. And then for our swings, like our afternoons, we go down to 3, and then overnight we go to 2. So
Okay.
2 all night?
no, 2 from 2 a.m. until the following day. Wait, that same day. Hold on, rewind. From 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. we go down to 2, but at 6 a.m. there's a hard shift change. So
Okay.
2 people leave, and 2 new people come.
Until 10?
10 a.m. And then at 10 a.m. 2 more people come in. So then there's 4 until 4 p.m. And then 2 people leave, but only 1 person comes in. And then at 8 p.m. 2 people leave, 2 people come in.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
It does make sense. It's like blowing my mind right now.
Yeah, I like it because you're an hour earlier than we are.
Yeah.
We start at 7, 11.
Yeah, we're an hour off in a whole bunch of ways.
Yep. It's like you're in a different time zone.
Yes. It's a good time zone.
Yeah, it is good.
It's just the northern part of the county.
That's what it is.
It's the North Larimer County time zone. But yeah, so all of our staff are all cross-trained though. So we do the medicals, we do law enforcement calls, we do fire calls,
Do you switch?
which is
during-
good, and call takers.
Do you switch during the day? Like we switch.
We
from-
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're not like locked in, like you come in at the start of your shift and you do one thing all day, because that'd be miserable.
Yes.
That's a lot of time
Mm-hmm.
talking to the same people in
Mhm.
different capacities. So we rotate through. So our 3 primary responsibilities are our law channels, so our dispatch and data. We always have those open 24/7.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
We don't ever go down to one law channel. And then phones. We don't have anyone devoted to fire medical because it's like a you catch it, you clean it type mentality. So if you get the 911 and it's a medical or a fire call, then you just do the radio for it.
The law and data.
Yeah.
When you have 2 people, one's on law, one's on data.
Yeah, dispatch data.
Huh.
Yep. Always 24/7.
And then if you're 2 people and the phones are ringing, you just switch.
They both take phones, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
And your deputies sometimes get into some intense stuff.
Yes.
So the thought of like being on the law channel
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just taking calls.
That's the benefit of backup rollover stuff. Because there's times like where we've had a big critical incident, so the main dispatcher is devoted to that. The secondary person on data is trying to figure out who these people might be, and the 911s are still ringing. And I know one of the last times that happened, I think we got a 911 that was someone giving delivery to a baby
Oh my goodness.
that ended up, we got transferred to a different center because of just the call load. Or they ended up, I can't remember what it was, something happened with that. And then a fire call that rolled over to another agency, a structured fire call. But it wasn't, fortunately, in our jurisdiction. We found out after the fact. But yeah, things get crazy at times.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking in the last episode that we just released about how we thought it was crazy that like Estes Park and CSU like go to one person.
Yeah.
And I'm like talking to you right now thinking I can't do this job in like with I can't do this job with 2 people because we do it, but I'm just trying to say like thinking about the way that you guys do it, it's just
Yeah.
blows
Which,
my mind.
and I think that's part of like being able to rotate through those different responsibilities or duties during the day, because otherwise you would get burned out on
Oh, yeah.
phones. And I think for us, since everyone's cross-trained, you can always, and I know you guys talked about this on a prior episode, of the teamwork and just the the magic that is a communication center, which it's hard for, I think, people to really understand until they've been a part of it. You can talk about it, but it doesn't really do it justice. But yeah, that teamwork is hugely critical because sometimes if someone gets a medical and there's just two people, that person's usually on the phone still trying to stay in contact with the caller, because for us, our first responders being volunteers, sometimes they have extended ETAs. So you're on the phone with the caller until the paramedic gets to the patient. You're also on the radio with the paramedic, and then the other person in the room is doing both our dispatch and data channel, which you'd think people could hear it's the same voice on the two channels, but not always. So it gets crazy.
Yeah.
That's fun.
But fortunately, that's just for those 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
Right.
Just 8
Nothing
hours.
too crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, just a chunk of the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's good. For us, it's it's helpful having everyone cross-trained. I think for us, it makes people probably better call takers having worked the radios, because you can better anticipate. We've got the standard line of questioning, but you can better anticipate the things you need to dig for or ask the caller, because you know the deputies are going to request this info. You can proactively think through, like, how do I need to inform the other agencies, because you've worked the radios and know that the deputies are going to request somebody else to be notified, whether it's State Patrol or Loveland or whoever else it might be. So I think it just overall is helpful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for us, taking those few of those medical calls, though, we also still dispatch for the Larimer County Search and Rescue, Larimer County Dive Team, and then also our emergency services. And then beyond the deputies, we have several other agencies we dispatch for law enforcement. So, which are how bright that you would ask that. I've got this good list, so I didn't mess anything up, because we have our deputies that work the county. We have 7 districts or beats, and then we also do all the law enforcement for Wellington and Berthoud, which you guys dispatch fire medical for down in Berthoud. And then we do all of the county parks. We dispatch for the state parks, so Boyd Lake State Rangers, Laurie Park State Rangers. We dispatch for the civil service processors from the sheriff's office that go out and do stuff. We also dispatch for Colorado Parks and Wildlife. They're wildlife officers, the Forest Service officer, Timnath PD, and then all of our jail, transport, court deputies. So the court deputy that is in the Loveland Police Building, we dispatch for them.
Oh, that's cool that we overlap. And
Yeah, so sometimes I think they call you guys or ask you guys to help, but we're still their main dispatch.
Gotcha. Cool.
So
then going into the jurisdiction for the deputies, obviously you have those specific little areas that they kind of cling to, but overall, the Larimer County Sheriff's officers can go anywhere.
Yeah, they've got jurisdiction in the whole state, or whole county.
Oh, he's promoted him.
You just, here's your promotion, guys.
They like to, correction, they have jurisdiction in the entire county. So whatever it is, 2,600 square miles is the county. So basically our northern border is Wyoming, of course. So we've got the 2 counties up there between Albany and Laramie County that we talk to frequently. And then well to the east, South Boulder, and then to the west is the Continental Divide. So Jackson County and Grand County, since we go all the way up into Rocky Mountain National Park and stuff. So it's a big county. But I mean, for instance, a deputy's district can be giant. So our District 1 deputies would work roughly north of Prospect all the way to the state line. To the west, they would go from Larimer County Road 15, which is College, through a bunch of the county, all the way to Weld. So it's kind of this weird, but it's a lot of space.
Yeah.
So they need to know where they are.
And so do we.
And so do you. So how do you learn that? What is your...
Yeah, I mean, so for us, we've got to know the county jurisdiction, which thankfully Larimer County, the road numbering system is most counties are this way, but it's easy to kind of get a grasp on. So the odd numbers run one way, even numbers run the other way, and every jump in number is 1 mile. Each letter is 0.5 of a mile. or 0.1 of a mile. So like if a county road like 38E, it's a half mile from County Road 38. So yeah, it's helpful. But it takes a lot to learn. So we do geography tours with our trainees. Honestly, for me personally, was just driving around the county and getting a feel for it because it's huge. And I mean, the geography of the county can go from the beautiful prairies all the way up to like the mountains and everything in between. So, and the weather can change. It's crazy. It could be snowing in Estes and not doing anything down here.
Yeah.
So
when I think about like traffic stops. They're like, hey, I'm over by the blah blah at the blah blah. You know, like we don't really have it's not really an intersection or whatever. Can you guys be like, yep, I know exactly where you are because you're in
hopefully
northern, almost Wyoming, and I know this intersection. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully. I mean, thankfully we still have technology, but technology fails. So, I mean, for the most part, we can figure it out. We can use their GPS on their cars sometimes, but a lot of our rural areas, especially the mountains, the GPS is useless. So yeah, fortunately, we've got a lot of like commonplace names that we can use if they say like I'm at Ted's Place, which is a gas station, but it's also kind of a landmark, or I'm at the Four Corners, which is just this random intersection up in the northwest part of the county and stuff like that. So
was like the biggest respect of knowing the whole county because it is such a huge county.
The problem is like, but when they come down here and they're like, I'm at this small gas station in Loveland city limits, I'm like, Google.
You pump it.
So
Where
yeah,
are you?
yeah. So they say I'm like at You Pump It, and that's it. And then all of a sudden they're in a foot pursuit. Someone's Googling that real quickly because I may not know that, but if they had said I'm at these cross streets, maybe.
Do they do that often? They're just like, oh, I'm at the Wendy's at Loveland, or I'm at the McDonald's in Loveland. And you're just like, there's 3. Which one?
I don't know there's 3, but I do now.
Okay, I don't think that. I think there's more than 3 if you count the ones in like Walmart.
Probably.
Well, they're not McDonald's anymore. They're Burger Kings.
I lied. There's one off of there's 3. East,
Crazy.
north, west.
Yeah. So if they say that, I'm usually hoping they're gonna give me cross streets,
Okay.
or at least 100 block or something.
Okay. That's crazy.
Because like in our CAD maps or computer aided dispatch maps, we have a lot of common places in the north part of the county. But since we're not on a joint CAD with you guys yet, we don't have all of the like like we have the Walmarts. Like I can tell you the Walmart in Denver versus the Walmart on 65th.
Yeah.
But like the McDonald's that's at 29th and what is that? Garfield there? Whatever. It changes names like 6 times there. Buchanan.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't know that one unless they said at this one.
Yeah. Does your you maybe just answer this, but like your CAD shows you like when you type in Walmart, you get every single Walmart in the county, or
That's and there's a commonplace.
So you literally are seeing like 10 Walmarts.
Yeah, so Timnath Walmart, the multiple ones in Fort Collins, Mason, Magnolia, Denver, down here, 65th down here. Yeah.
I get overwhelmed just typing in and saying 2 Walmarts.
Right.
Yeah.
I was thinking, speaking of getting overwhelmed, you saying that you would go and drive around the county. When I'm training people, and Sammy might remember this, and I say, go out on your lunch break and drive around the town or come into Loveland on your days off and run errands. I would imagine it'd be hard to be like, okay, well, go run errands in Estes Park on your days off, new LCSO dispatcher.
Yeah.
To the county.
You learn about great places to eat food like the Potbelly and Red Feather Lakes. It's not Potbelly sandwiches, but it's called the Potbelly, and they have great chili or green chili fries, green chili cheese fries. They're fantastic. My wife loves them there. But it was just because we drove up there.
Yep.
Learned the geography.
Hit up Potbelly then.
It's way up there. Yeah. 74E, right about County Road 69. Can't go wrong. I know.
Definitely not. So when you're initially training though, do you just kind of like look at a map and you're just kind of like try to figure this out until you're able to physically see these things, or?
Yeah, a little bit. So like part of our stuff is memorizing where all the different common places are by district. So like District 1, knowing all the different trailer parks or mobile home parks and different gas stations, hotels, their physical address, roughly where they are. So it's a lot of just memorization of all of that stuff. And then trying to retain that when you add up all 7 districts full of stuff. So, and I mean, then you factor in like trailheads. Like, I don't know if you guys still have the sign on the refrigerator in your break room, but the one that's like, oh, you're lost in the woods. Here, let me transfer you to the county. Because we have that one too in our break room. But I mean, that's the other kicker is all of the different parks with the trails. I know you guys have city parks, but Horsetooth Mountain Park, there's a ton of different trails up there and different spurs and routes. And so like someone may call 911 because they slipped and broke their ankle. And they'll just say like, I'm at the bench above this landmark. And so hopefully GPS or Rapid SOS saves the day in those to get a good spot, but not always. So sometimes we're just dependent upon forcing things, trying to find ways to help our responders figure out where they are. So it's, I mean, it can be unique. But there's hiking trails off of Highway 14. People will be bouldering or whatever and fall, and someone just sees them and they have to drive miles to call 911. And I know you guys are all big about know where you are, but sometimes it's hard for people. They know where they are when they call 911, but not where the patient is.
Right.
Because they're miles up the canyon.
Yeah.
You know, the crash happened at this mile marker and they drove 10 miles to get cell service. So
we'll do that sometimes with the canyon, Big Thompson
Mhm.
Canyon, and you're like, I'm at Sandy's convenience store, and it's that way.
yeah.
It's west 7 miles, and
Yeah, and we get it too. One thing that I think absolutely cracks me up is people that either live in Poudre Canyon on Highway 14 or have grown up in that area will like give locations based on the different rapids in the river,
oh wow.
which is not always the most helpful to me. But and there's some unique rapid names.
Yeah.
I can't think of any right now,
Oh.
but they're unique.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Me neither.
Yeah, I think one's called like Ding Dong or something.
Oh.
That's great.
Yeah, like
You should see if your agency would be willing to fund a field trip for you and your partners to go run the rapids and figure out where these are.
we've taken enough calls of people falling in the river that
Oh, you
I
know
just
now?
or I just don't have the desire to go
Gotcha.
rafting and learn them. Because I'm sure
That'd be a fun
bumping
field
over a
trip.
rapid is the most intimate way to learn the rapid's name.
There's Ding Dong.
True.
Good.
Oh gosh. I feel like geography was the hardest thing for me to learn, and just like I didn't grow up in this area of Loveland or in this area of Colorado at all, but I feel like just learning Loveland was hard enough. Like I
Yes.
feel bad for Erica because I feel like I'd get frustrated and be like, nope, I'm not gonna do that anymore.
I didn't feel that frustration, so that
Oh,
was
perfect,
good. Yeah,
even better.
you hit it.
So I
Well,
can't even imagine how trainees feel.
I think geography probably, I've only worked at one center, but I would say that's probably one of the biggest challenges. I think regardless of where you are, unless you really grew up there and knew it well, but I didn't even grow up in the state. So similarly, you know, for me it's huge, but I think when you've lived somewhere though, you become a little more, I don't know, lackadaisical because you did grow up there. So sometimes I think outsiders get a better perspective, if that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, even like, you know, you get up into Forest Service property and there's different Forest Service roads, and some of that don't always show up on our CAD maps. So then we're pulling out paper maps, which it's a good day when you're pulling out the U.S. Forest Service paper map and trying to figure out what's going on. So
Okay.
yeah, true. It's true.
So I did grow up around here,
Right.
and I did have that when I was started training. I was like, oh, I know this area, it'll be fine. And my trainer was like, nope, you don't. So to go and see the parts where I didn't live, or the schools that I didn't attend, and just different parts of the little city that it was at the time, it's definitely eye-opening, even if you live here. So you're right. If you don't live here, you have a different appreciation maybe of it. So you'd be like, okay, I'm going to see it all.
Yeah. I think though, and this again, why I think personally geography is such a big part, or knowing your jurisdiction, is like, our biggest goal is preserving the safety of all of our responders in the field. And so knowing where they are when they just randomly jump out and start trying to say stuff on the radio, it's imperative that we have good clues of, like, if they say, you know, these random things. Fortunately, they don't usually refer to, like, I'm by the big oak tree, because that wouldn't work too well. But give some sort of clarity.
Yeah.
That's very good. Very, very good. So you guys dispatch for fire as well. I'm kind of backtracking here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
And they're all volunteer.
Yeah.
For the ones that you handle. Otherwise, it's transferred to us or Fort Collins. On our map, sometimes it's hard enough for us to understand who does what when it comes to fire medical calls. We'll figure it out. I'm not saying it's impossible. Anyways, do you find it difficult to figure out which agency to transfer to sometimes, or do you just know your county and area so well?
Like for us with our call entry screen, it tells us who the primary fire jurisdiction is and who the primary ambulance is. So it's pretty easy.
Is that before you enter the call, or do you have to go through the...
Once I type a verified location, I have that data available.
That's awesome.
So I know, like, the map page. So, like, I don't know if you guys, when you're airing fire calls, air map pages. Like Fort Collins 911, when they're airing fire calls for, or medical calls for their responders through PFA or UC Health ambulance, they air the map page. So I'll know the map page, which they have these big books in their apparatus. But then I'll also know those primary agencies. Okay. So
that's very useful.
Which sometimes it's unique because you get to, like, and I think you guys have talked about this on a prior episode, but like the I-25, Highway 392 area, like based on who the primary law jurisdiction, fire, and medical, and then who the backup ones are, is kind of a messy cluster.
Yeah.
So for us in those areas too, I can hover over my CAD map and it'll show me the primary agency and their backup who have signed mutual aid contracts. So usually we go with the primary and then notify the backup as well.
Okay.
But honestly, if I catch that 911 at first and it's one that can and should be transferred, that's what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, that totally makes sense because you're getting help there faster depending on the situation. Okay. I think that answers my question.
Yeah, but our volunteers, they're dispatched out on pagers. I brought my pager, but I don't know where I set it because we have sweet pagers too for our dispatchers. Old school. Yeah, but that's what our responders have. They also can get it on their cell phones, but we don't have like station toning or because sometimes they're coming in their personal own vehicle, POV they call it. So depending on where they are when the page goes out, they may be closer to the patient or the fire, and they'll just drive in their personal vehicle there.
Do they have gear in their personal vehicle?
Yeah, they usually have their medical bags, their bunker gear. They have everything they need usually in the personal vehicle.
Okay.
If they're going to the station to get apparatus, to the best of my knowledge, they're probably transferring gear sometimes too.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. It was just like, I feel like it'd be easier to go there in my personal vehicle than have to go to the station, get the fire truck or whatever you need, and then go. So that's interesting. Have a random, you call for the fire department or something, and they show up in a Chevy truck. And what?
And we have to tell responders because the people that live in those areas know that, but there's a lot of people that go visit those areas that don't know that.
Oh yeah.
So when some random older gentleman rolls up in his Chevy pickup and he comes and says, "I'm here to help you," we have to that's one of our responders. They just called a rival. It's them.
And they're like in plain clothes most of the time?
Yeah.
Do they have like a little badge or anything?
That's a great question.
Oh, perfect.
Usually they have some marking on their vehicle, like under their license plate or something. Like search and rescue guys and gals all have things that hang under their license plate that say they're part of that team. Mm-hmm. And some of them have lights and sirens on their personal vehicle as well.
Interesting.
So
that's pretty cool.
But it also makes it dicey with impersonators at times because
those impersonators are ruining everything.
Along with COVID-19.
Yeah.
Happens.
Yeah, that's great. We're getting out of the Rona.
I know. I like that. The Rona.
The Rona.
I know. It's good.
Yeah. We're clever.
I'm just excited for all these different names people are coming up with for kids that are like either that are gonna be born during this time. There's just so many good names.
Like what? What?
Yeah.
I mean, not their kids' name, but like their generation. I mean,
Oh.
yeah,
The coronavirus generation.
COVID kids.
Oh, that's cute.
Mm-hmm.
I actually really enjoy that COVID kids. It's
Sounds
cute.
like it's
It sounds like a
natural.
good band name.
Yeah. We're the COVID kids.
I mean, if this doesn't work out for you guys and you go the band route, I'm trademarking that today, so don't steal it.
Oh gosh. Do you like your job?
I love it.
That's good.
Yeah, I didn't ever plan to do this, but it's been awesome and fun. In high school and college, I did law enforcement explorers. So I had a little clue of what the dispatchers did, but the town I grew up in, they had a separate police dispatch it was a more consolidated type setup. So I didn't really have a good appreciation until coming out here, but it's sweet. I like it a lot. Get to work with cool people. I think that's one of the fun and exciting things is that there's a lot of changes coming in the industry as a whole, just because of technology advances, changes with recognizing dispatchers as first responders, hopefully coming down the pipeline, and technology is probably the biggest thing. I mean, there's just so much changing. It's we sometimes pull out pictures. Our communications director does. We'll pull out pictures from like the old days of dispatching, and it's different. You know, like they used to have this huge phone that would like take up half of this conference table, and now we have it condensed to a computer screen, and it does more than that huge phone used to. You know, pulling audio on actual reels of
They had
that's
to change the reels.
yeah.
Like, hold on.
Wait.
Yeah.
Were you like? Do you have to be like in the middle of a 911? Be like, hold on a second. I have to switch my
I don't
reel
know about
out?
that, but I know like you got to watch the reels because if it runs out, it's not recorded.
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
like, yeah,
I've never switched the reels.
I know. Probably for the best.
Yeah, definitely.
Because nothing's happening.
Because
and
I
it's
want to
not
be
busy.
more efficient. I'm not going to waste my time changing reels, you know?
Or, yeah.
Just keep saving lives.
Yeah, just keep taking those phone calls. I don't have time to change the reels.
Yeah.
That's good that you like your job.
No, it's fun. I mean, I think the people I work with immediately, but just even all the partner agencies in Larimer County, I'm a pretty laid back person, so I think it's fun for people to connect and know one another. But I love it. I wouldn't trade it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Speaking of all the agencies that we all work together, I feel like we talk to you guys a lot. You know, we have to let you know when we're in Berthoud for medical calls or like just outside of Loveland in general and just whatever else we need to talk to you guys about. Hey, Matthew, what's up? But I feel like you reach out to all of your agencies more. Like, I can't even remember the last time I talked to Estes Park, but I'm sure you guys talk to them regularly. Is that safe to assume?
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, especially the county is I think we're the backup center for 911 overflows and rollovers for every agency. All the other, so that's unique.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah.
that sounds awful because if
Right.
Fort Collins is overflowing, we're overflowing, and it's going to you guys who have the same amount of staffing as us, and we're already
Right.
overflowing. That sounds stressful.
But I think the ideal hope is that we may be on less calls at that point, so we're able to do it. But like you guys have been swamped with calls before, and I got to take a medical in the city limits where the person wasn't conscious, and so that was unique. So
Oops.
it's just
Were they okay?
different. Yes, they were.
Or at least
to the
he's
best of
just
my
saying
knowledge.
that
Yeah.
for the podcast reasons.
No,
Yes, they're totally
to the
fine.
best of my knowledge, they were fine.
Okay.
I mean, the responders got there, and the person, they were just doing some nefarious activity, and someone found them and called to have them checked on.
That's good.
They did, yeah, and the ambulance got there and checked them out. So,
Good.
but yeah, I mean that's one of the things, and I think if there's ever a significant incident in Larimer County, we've had the floods, we've had fires. It relies on us having good interoperability with radios, with phones, knowing the people that you're going to be relying on, because I may be relying on people that I've never seen in person but talked to on the phone a bunch, and I have to trust that they've got my back. So I think it's kind of dependent upon, for the safety of all citizens and responders, that we have good working relationships within 911 as a whole.
Yeah. That's cool.
But, yeah, and I mean, for us, you know, like, we have medicals up by the state line, so we call Wyoming different agencies. If we have pursuits going into different states or counties, we're constantly on the phone with those other agencies. But yeah, on a daily basis, I probably talk to, maybe not CSU a ton, because Fort Collins, I think, talks to them the most because the city surrounds the campus, but probably almost every other partner agency that's up here, between Weld County, Colorado State Patrol, Loveland, Fort Collins, Estes, so on a daily shift basis.
Yeah. And like multiple times. I feel like there's times where like I'll just hang up with you guys and you're calling us back for something else, you know.
My real favorite though is when one of us is on the line and another person calls and like, I need to tell you about this, and then we're like, oh, I'm on the line with your partner, but you can't see each other because of your layout, and you're like, oh, well, how's it going? It's great. And then we just have a lovely, friendly chat instead.
Yeah. I've done that a couple of times, and you guys are just like, yeah, they're already telling us. I'm just like, whoops, sorry, they didn't put in the notes.
You know what? Well, I mean, that's a thing, like, over notifying is better than not notifying, so.
Yeah.
Or they did put in the notes, and I just went, don't see it. Oops.
Happens.
I'm still learning. So anything else that you'd like to talk about before we get to the last thing?
No. I'm excited for what the last thing is.
Yeah.
For us, I can briefly talk about our training because I think each center is a little bit different. For us, we recently just changed to where our training is an 8-month process. So we've put in some, it's a little bit longer, but we've put in some different gaps to really help the holistic well-being of the people we have in training, because it's a lot of pressure. And so we're trying to give them those buffers to process stuff and practice skills and feel good about the job they're doing instead of just piling stuff on all the time. But it's almost all on the job. We have the first couple weeks, it's kind of some classroom based, but for us, because, you know, you may once in your training have a dive call, which is significant. Car in the river, person's trapped, we're trying to get resources there. So we want as much on the job training where they can experience that and see it and be in the center for that. Wildfires, you know, different things like that. So we do a lot of on the job. They rotate through their training to the different shifts, to different training officers while they go through and stuff. But yeah, so 8 months, it seems like a long time, but we're hoping that it'll aid in them feeling really good about the job.
Good for you.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think we've all heard like the horror stories from people from like 10, 20 years ago that are like, oh, I was trained a day and the next day I was on console.
Yeah, by myself all night long,
Yeah.
you know, and we had 6 pursuits and CPR.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I commend people that did it and are still doing it from those days, because there's a lot of stuff that they've probably lived through by themselves, and that's rough. I mean, I think about just the overall wellness of dispatchers. If you take a CPR call on like an infant and you're trying to give those instructions, and then you finally, the responders get there, they take over, you hang up the phone, and then the next one is a domestic violence call, there's no time to come down from the adrenaline high. Like, that takes a toll on your body overall. So I think it's just something that I think is our part of Northern Colorado gets more populated, agencies grow. There's less of that, hopefully, but it's also something where we have to look out for our brothers and sisters working. Mostly for you guys sisters, I get it. Sammy, I get it. I get it. No, I'm kidding. But there's some of us guys that are around. So
the one or two.
They all work in the sheriff's office.
Or Fort Collins, they've got a lot.
Yeah.
Do they?
Yeah. CSU
you need
has
to
some.
share the
What is it that
male dispatchers in Loveland, because they don't want to work here apparently.
I don't know. Yeah, we've got a few now, but overall, I mean, I think it's good just to have that ability, and we've had it before. Like, I think it's huge. We have one of our deputies who used to be a dispatcher at CSU before he went out to be a cop, and he knew a Fort Collins 911 dispatcher had taken a really, really rough call, and he just sent her a CAD message and was like, hey, I hope you're doing all right. You know there's a ton of us that are here if you ever need to talk. And I think that's good. I mean, all of our agencies up here, the field responders tend to work really well together, but I think it's hard for us because we're in our
Yes.
own buildings and only on the phone. We don't see the people in person, but still looking out for each other is significant. So,
Yeah.
and filling in those gaps where we can. Like if we know the rest of the story,
Yeah.
trying to tell you guys like, hey, this is what happened.
Yes.
Because sometimes you guys take the 911 and don't hear the conclusion, and that's
Right.
the worst part. You go home after a shift, it's like missing the last 3 chapters of a good book, and that you never read those last 3 chapters. It's tough.
Yeah, we've got a lot of open books, I feel like.
Totally.
And I don't like not finishing a book.
I
Yeah.
know.
So.
It's rough.
I don't mind.
You don't
But-
mind? Yeah. Okay, Erica.
It's, I think in the decade plus that I've been doing this, we've gotten a lot better at like that checking on each other, the mental health aspect. So in just 13 years, we've gone from suck it up, get through it, next call to let's take a step back and process
True.
this. So
Yeah, and I
It's
mean,
true.
it's things. There's some agencies like down with Denver 911. It's cool. Like if someone takes a really rough call because they're so much bigger, they will let them off the console. Or sometimes they're able because they have enough staffing to like send them home and give them some time off
Yeah.
after those bigger incidents where someone's maybe not made it through whatever the incident was. And I agree. I think it's a huge benefit. Like for us at the sheriff's office, we have 2 of our dispatchers who are on our agency-wide peer support team. So it gives us good, like even if I know something happened to someone in dispatch, and because I work with them, at the very least I can encourage someone else on the peer support team to do a reach out. Like, hey, they took this really tough call. I was in the center for it, so I don't feel, because of confidentiality and stuff, that I should be the one that reaches out, but someone needs to reach out to them.
Yeah.
And including them in that wellness and giving them the space they need.
Yeah. And I think that's good, especially since we all work so close together. There's times where your officers are involved with an incident and our officers are also involved. And I feel like it's always a crazy call if county and LPD are on the same one.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's probably how it is. County just gets into things all the time. That's how we feel, because you guys always are like, we're in pursuit, and we're like, cool, let's go figure out how to help. But I feel like we find ourselves like getting into big things, and it's nice to say our officers need help. Do you have a deputy that's close by, and you guys are able to help us out, and then we're all there for each other more than just on the phone with ourselves. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say? Yeah, I think it's nice that our agencies that we dispatch for also are there for each other, because there's so many times where our officers are listening to your radio saying, oh, I hear that they're like doing such and such, do they need our help? And then we'll call you guys, and then you guys are like, actually I was just about to call you, or like, no, we're fine, so, but they'll probably go out anyways just to make sure, because
Right.
I think that's just how it goes.
Well, and you kind of start in the 911 field. You start to, again, it's that anticipation of
yes.
what other agencies might need to be there or who could help. For us not being in the middle of it, maybe with tunnel vision, we can have a really good big picture view of what's going on and consider all of the possibilities that sometimes the units in the field, just because of the situation, get, kind of a little tunnel vision.
Right.
And so we can, prompt those things, or, like for us, if we're pursuing and they haven't specifically requested we notify every agency, we're just doing that because we know that needs to happen. We may not be requesting their assistance without permission from the field, but we're at least notifying, hey, we're coming in chasing, this is the vehicle, this is the charges, this is what happened, or whatever. So.
Yeah.
I think we're lucky. I think we work together as a good, at Loveland, with our user agencies, with our sister agencies, and I hope the citizens can realize that it's for them, and we're working together for the whole county.
Yeah.
Well, and I think sometimes just a small snippet of that is, especially thinking 911 call only. Someone calls 911, and we're so seamless in getting them to the correct agency that sometimes, especially if it's a high stressful situation for that caller, they don't even know they're talking to someone different. Because even if it's a male versus female voice, but we so quickly transition them, we get the information that's needed, and it almost it's kind of like a seamless, deal, a patchwork quilt that's just kind of, I don't know, all the different parts of a tapestry come together and make something awesome.
Yes.
So, I agree.
I know.
Speaking of when someone calls 911, what do you think? We've obviously discussed our opinions of what we think is most important for our agency and how we take calls. What's most important for Larimer County Communications Center? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay,
The
sick.
county.
What's most important for the county?
Wow, we sound. No, I mean, I think it's the same that I've heard you guys talk about, and significantly it's location. As long as you have location, even if you have no clue what's going on there, you can get people there. And, it's if you have to send everyone because you don't know what's going on, you do it. Location, and then obviously phone number, because if something crazy happens, they disconnect, the line drops. Especially for us, we get a lot of cell phone where we have a great connection, but they're driving on 287 towards Wyoming, and then they have no connection. So trying to call them back, and then know what's going on. I mean, if they can quickly tell us what's going on, we know what resources, and we can get them the best response. And I mean, that's what it's about, helping people and, impacting, whether it's saving lives or property or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's cool. I know there's times that this has nothing to do with what you just, well, kind of, location, like we'll transfer callers to you guys because they're like, oh, we want police, but they're saying something in the background, or like I hear something and they're fighting, like beating up each other, and I'm just like, they're gonna call us and they're gonna want an ambulance. I just know it. But I transfer it over, and then like 2 seconds later, sure enough, you guys are calling us, and I'm like, dang it. But I don't know, I feel like.
But I mean, I think for us though, that's, the way we look at those things is like safety, scene safety. If there's any sort of active disturbance or fight, you don't want to send your medical units in until the scene is safe and secure. So
and I'm not going to take the police side of the call for you guys in an immediate situation. So it's just like one of those things where it's just like, I feel bad transferring this, but they want police, but I know they're going to want medical. It's like a weird, like, I wish we could like 3-way call. I mean, we can on 911s.
Yeah.
Let's just all talk together.
Yeah, you just mute yourself and listen until they're like, okay, they need an ambulance, and you're just like, hey, county, I got your ambulance. Like
listening to my
the
call.
angel in the room, right? No, yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those, and yeah, for us, it's getting the most accurate information we can for our deputies before the ambulance gets there is probably primary. So we don't mind if you transfer.
Do you mind?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I'll edit this out if you want to educate me better.
No.
No? Okay. I was like,
no, I think scene and officer safety is
in front of Erica? Yeah, I transfer all the calls over you guys. I don't want to take
Erica's been taking a lot of notes today, so I don't know if I should be worried or you, Sammy, or what's going on here. But
I just had my meeting with one of the supervisors. I was like, what do I need to work on? She's like, no one's complained to me, so.
Good.
I know, I was just like.
That's weird, though. They didn't check with us.
I know.
Just
they checked with
kidding.
the wrong people.
Just the people you work directly with.
Yeah, they're like,
no,
you have a
I'm
podcast now, so you're going to air your dirty laundry.
Yep.
Yeah.
True.
Just kidding. Anyways.
There's no dirty laundry in Loveland Emergency Communication Center.
None.
I think it's funny that you guys are LCCC, technically.
I don't know if we've ever really, I don't know. Like, I think that's what it officially is, but we're just the county or 900.
Okay, cool. If anybody wants to know, I don't think we've ever said our number. We're 200.
Yeah.
Which is the better number.
Yep.
200. It's much easier to say on the radio.
An eye roll from Matthew.
If somebody wants to reprimand this, eye roll. So much for interagency relations.
True.
Yeah. Sheesh.
So rude.
Ruined it.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
I thought you said tacos. Not
We
that's
had
how it
we
goes.
had a deputy. We have some good bloopers. You thought I said tacos? That makes sense why you were like, because I was a little confused. But we have a deputy one time he forgot the phonetic word for tea, so he just said taco on the radio, and I too, my brain was like tacos, and like I don't remember what he said after, but
I love it.
it's a good blooper.
Yeah.
We've got a lot. Like that's what I mean. Honestly, one of the cool, crazy parts of this is I think you guys maybe transferred us to 911 recently, but we had a guy who we wanted him to describe the animal sounds he was hearing with his words, but he just embraced the moment. And he made the sound that he was hearing on the phone. I'll play it for you guys after we're done recording.
Why did you have to have him describe the animal's in pain?
He wasn't totally sure what type of animal, so we were trying to get just a little more info because we had to decide: is it like an animal control call? Does a deputy need to go out? Do we need to call the brand inspector? Is it a wildlife officer from Colorado Parks and Wildlife? We were doing our due diligence.
You were.
And he embraced his moment to shine. And he made that animal sound. It's glorious. Audio gold.
Some of the things we hear.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I agree.
It's pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
Is that pretty much it? Do you have anything else you'd like to discuss, Matthew? I feel like we're gonna have you on more episodes.
Okay.
Or we might just get rid of you and pick somebody else from county.
That's fine.
Okay, cool.
I work with cool people.
Cool.
Good.
You can have them too.
Let's just have a group.
Yes, like next.
Yeah. All these virtual choirs, and we could have a virtual podcast.
Zoom podcast.
Yeah.
I feel like that's gonna get really chaotic really quick.
With all these stories.
Yeah.
True.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
Love learning.
I feel like we're gonna have more questions later.
Yeah. Follow up.
Yeah, follow-up questions. Yeah, thanks for listening. I hate to cut it off randomly, but I feel like we're just gonna keep talking and nobody wants to hear that.
Stories. Okay,
Yeah,
and then
stories.
Another time.
And one more time, subscribe to us to get the latest updates. And then we have Facebook, Loveland Emergency Communication Center, that you can follow and like us. We also have our Instagram, which is How to 911 Podcast, that you can follow us. You can email us questions for ourselves or Matthew that we can ask and see if he has the answer for you. And that email is, oh no, I'm looking at the notes and I was like, I didn't put the right email, and I did. Okay, the email is no, that's a lie. I'll edit that out. The email is howto911@cityofloveland.org. I know it's kind of weird to have an email with .org, but I promise that's what it is. And then, is it weird?
I don't know. No, I don't think so.
Okay,
Not nowadays.
No?
The county's website is larimer.org, so we have a lot of people with larimer.org email addresses. So
That's true. I guess it's for official emails, which I don't email people official, so it's weird for me.
Oh.
It has to be weird for somebody else. And then next time, I think we'll be talking about something.
Me too.
I think what we're going to be talking about next time, by the time I get this edited out, yeah, it should be PSA 3, which is where do 911, wait, grammar's hard. Where does, this is great that I didn't talk this whole episode because
Where do
you didn't get to hear my nonsense. Okay, so where does 911 ring into? Jurisdictionally, which is kind of what Matthew kind of talked about today. No,
Spoiler.
that's totally fine. No, it's totally fine because we go more in depth of how it relates to us.
Yeah.
And you've talked about how it relates to you and stuff. So that's really cool to see your side about something that we already kind of overlapped. It's fine. I got distracted. So until then, Erica, do you want to say this?
Okay, but I'd have to probably read it.
It's the very last line.
Okay.
It's great.
Until then, know where you are, know your phone number, and tell us exactly what happened.